Welcome back to Al Chapo Sports, everyone's least favorite sports show where we do the thinking so you don't have to. Week 12, Power-5 for 5. Let's get right into it. It's our second to last episode. Starting with a Pac-12, number 5, we've got Utah. They are 7-4. They lost to Arizona this week. Arizona's a good team, so hence the drop for Utah. Number 4, we've got Oregon State. They are 8-3. And they lost to Washington. Washington's the best in the conference. You'll drop for that, but you won't drop out of the rankings. Number 3, Arizona, 8-3. As I mentioned before, they beat Utah. Good team, great win. Arizona really came out of nowhere towards the end of the season. Number 2, Oregon, 10-1. They got a win over Arizona State. Arizona State sucks, but 10-1. How are you going to argue with that? Clear number 2. Number 1, Washington, 11-0, with a win against a very good Oregon State. They are the hopeful for the playoff for this conference. Dropping out of the rankings was USC. What a disappointment of a season that ended up being for you guys. Anyway, moving on. ACC. ACC. At the bottom, we've got UNC. They are 8-3 with a loss to Clemson this week. Bringing us to number 4. Clemson, they are 7-4 with a win against UNC. Yes, their record is worse than UNC's by one game, but what can I say? It didn't feel right to put UNC over Clemson since Clemson just beat them. Moving on to number 3, our late riser in this conference, North Carolina State. North Carolina State is 8-3. They got a win over Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech kind of sucks, but it's a conference win, and 8-3. North Carolina State has really risen through the ranks in the last few weeks. Number 2, Louisville, 10-1. They got a win against Miami, who's a pretty good team in their own right. Not top 5, obviously, but it's a solid win. A lot of these Louisville games this year have been a lot closer of wins than I would like, so I can't put them at number 1, which is, as you could have guessed, Florida State, who is 11-0 with a dominant win against no-name North Alabama. They're undefeated. They are the favorite to go into the playoff if a team from this conference makes it into the playoff, which I think they will. Dropping from the rankings this week was Duke. Moving on to the Big 12. The Big 12, number 5, we've got Kansas. They are 7-4 and just lost to in-state rival Kansas State. Number 4, we've got West Virginia, also 7-4. They just beat Cincinnati, newcomer to the conference. Number 3, we've got Oklahoma. They are 9-2. They got a win against BYU. Number 2, Kansas State. Kansas State has really proven themselves to be the second best team in this conference, as they are now 8-3, beat previous top 3 member Kansas, and have brought Texas down to the wire, who is our number 1 team. Texas, 10-1. They got a win against Iowa State. 10-1's great, but I don't see them making the playoff. There's just too many good undefeated teams left, and I don't think even it would take a lot of teams losing in order for Texas to have a bid in. No one dropped from the Big 12 rankings this week. Moving on to the Big 10. Number 5, we've got Wisconsin. They are 6-5. They got a win against Nebraska. Very average, kind of middle of the road team. I mean, you got 6 wins. So, bowl eligibility, it is heavy at the top in the Big 10. Moving on to number 4, Iowa, 9-2. They got a win against Illinois. Nothing much to say about this Iowa team other than they're really good, but they're not top 3 good. Top 3, Penn State at number 3, also 9-2. They got a win against Rutgers. Rutgers is a very solid team. Probably in like number 5, 6, 7 region of my top 5 rankings for this conference. So it's a good win for Penn State, but they're not as good as our last 2, which I'm going to rank the 2 undefeated teams as number 2, Ohio State. They're 11-0. They got a win against Minnesota. And number 1, Michigan, also 11-0, got a win against Maryland. this just comes down to between these two undefeated teams who haven't played yet but are playing this weekend, who I think is going to win. I think Michigan will beat Ohio State, therefore I rank them over Ohio State. I could be wrong. We'll find out, I'm sure. Dropping from the rankings in the Big Ten was Maryland. And finally, the SEC. Number 5, we've got LSU. They are 8-3. They got a win against Georgia State. Number 4, Ole Miss. They are 9-2. They got a win against Louisiana Monroe. Number 3, we've got Missouri. They are also 9-2. Got a win against Florida. All these 3 teams are really good. They're going to go to really good bowls. But the real points of discussion are these top 2. Number 2, Alabama. They are 10-1. They got a win against, what does that say? Chattanooga. That's right. Small school. Absolutely dominated them. Bama still has a chance at the playoff, but it's going to take them winning the SEC championship against our number 1 team, Georgia. 11-0. They beat Tennessee. They are the favorite for the playoff. They're reigning, defending national champions. The only way they are missing the playoff is if they lose the SEC championship to Alabama, or by some crazy occurrence lose to Georgia Tech. But that is it. No one dropped from the rankings in the SEC. Comment down below. Tell me who you think the 5 best teams in each Power 5 conference are. Like this video. Subscribe for more content. And I will see you guys next time.